This is Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the most listened to podcast for parents by parents.
Hey there, everyone, and thank you for listening to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the podcast talk show for parents. I'm Janice Robinson Celeste, your host and publisher of Successful Black Parenting Magazine. I want you to tell all your friends and followers about the show. So go to our Facebook page for Successful Black Parenting and share the link with your followers right now. If you go to the Facebook page, you can see the video if you're just listening to the podcast. And let people know that you've joined us or you're joining us. Even better, you can click the options and start a watch party for this video. In addition, you can comment on Facebook and I will post the best comments live on air. So know that our hashtag for the show is hashtag Backtalk. Now, my guest for today is Dr. Dorette Noorhasan. She is a fertility physician who has helped thousands of women to achieve pregnancy and parenthood, and she has a very special story to share with us later on in the show, so stay tuned. So welcome to Back Talk, Dr. Noorhasan.
Hi, Janice. Glad that you can have me on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to have you here. Can you please tell our audience about your background growing up and your credentials? I want them to know how much of an expert you are in what you do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'll try and summarize a lot of my background. So I was born in Guyana in South America, and my family, we moved throughout the Caribbean. And I went to high school on St. Croix, part of the United States Virgin Islands. I started college there at University of the Virgin Islands on the neighboring island of St. Thomas, and then finished college at Boston University. I was accepted to Boston University School of Medicine on early admission and pursued my medical doctorate degree. Subsequently, I pursued a residency program in obstetrics and gynecology at the University of Texas, Houston. And it's during my residency program that I was exposed to the field of reproductive endocrinology and infertility. And I truly enjoy helping patients achieve pregnancy. And so to further subspecialize and advance my training, I was accepted into a fellowship for what's called reproductive endocrinology and infertility. And since completing my fellowship, I've been in private practice now for over a decade. Presently, I practice in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, helping lots of women and families achieve pregnancy.
Well, I know it's needed, and a lot of our audience and our readers have expressed an interest in learning more about infertility and fertilities, and you have a few books about it, what we're going to talk about during the show. But you specialize in helping women conceive and become moms. But you have had your own challenges for fertility, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I met my husband much later in life. It was in my late 30s, and we needed fertility treatment. And so I myself have personally undergone 5 rounds of in vitro fertilization. And when I say 5 rounds of in vitro fertilization, that's doing the injectable medications, and you're doing 3 to 4 injections daily for about 10 to 12 days each round, and then undergoing a retrieval for each cycle. So after 5 cycles, we finally had 1 good embryo, and then that embryo was subsequently transferred to a surrogate. So I've got to experience it both as a patient and as a doctor, and it really does give you a different perspective on being on both sides of the exam table.
I bet that does. I don't know if a lot of doctors can even say that they experience anything their patients go through. So for you to experience it firsthand, I think that gives you a great insight into what your patients are feeling and going through. So I'm sure you're a valuable asset, and women appreciate that. Now,
yeah. And one of the things I've noticed, going through the whole process is you go through these highs and lows of where you're excited and you're hopeful that this cycle would be the cycle that's going to work. And then, of course, the lows is the disappointment that you've done all this and it didn't work. And you're back to square one as you were initially, and you're starting all over. So it does put a different perspective to be able to see it from the patient's viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the roller coaster of emotions that you might go through and what patients go through. I don't know how you do it, but like, what were some of like the ups and downs besides not actually conceiving? I mean, there are certain things that I wonder, when women go through this, like for instance, did they have to harvest the eggs? Like, and does that hurt? Can you give us some insight about the process a little bit? Because I wonder, does it hurt to harvest eggs? I had thought of one time of being a donor when I was much younger. And at that time, it wasn't much a request for my eggs, but I was willing when I was younger. But I wondered at the time, is it painful?
So you get anesthesia for the actual harvesting procedure called the retrieval process. So you don't feel or remember any part of it. And I'll tell you, I've gone through this 5 times. I don't remember any of it. I remember going into the procedure room, and I remember waking up in the recovery room. So I don't remember really any part of the actual retrieval process. And it's all done through the vaginal wall. So there's no incisions on your belly either. So the process is actually relatively easy and relatively safe in terms of the retrieval. The 10 to 12 days that I took the injections, and it's about, could be 4 or 5 injections a day. That process, the injections are easy, but after a while you do feel like a pincushion. And after a while you do feel like, well, I'm kind of running out of spots now. So the injections, can take a toll on you. And then during that time frame that you're doing the injections, you're going in every other day for a blood work and sonogram to make sure you're having an appropriate response to the injections. And so it means getting an ultrasound every couple of days and having your blood drawn every couple of days. I got used to it, but it takes a little while to get used to it. It certainly does.
Now, you found that your patients have experienced some of those same emotions you talked about a little bit earlier. Have they said anything to you that might have struck a chord or that pulled on your heartstrings because you've been through it?
Yeah, there's numerous times that they say things that have certainly struck a chord with me. And actually, just today, I'll tell you, someone said something that resonated well with me. Because my husband and I met much later in our reproductive lives, and after the 4th cycle, I couldn't do it again. I'm like, I can't do this. We just can't keep doing this over and over and over. And so I said, let's do donor egg. And my husband's like, we're not. He felt awkward using donor egg, and here I'm the woman, and I'm comfortable using another woman's eggs, and I'm like, well, why does it matter to you? We're using your sperm; it shouldn't really matter to you. And so today, I had a patient in the same scenario, very advanced reproductive age, and she's comfortable using donor egg, and her husband isn't, and she didn't understand why he is not comfortable. And the truth is, I didn't know, or I didn't understand why. The husbands were not comfortable until my own husband said it to me. So there are certain things that patients say to me that certainly resonate with me.
It has to be a struggle you would think, for the woman, but for the man to be so empathetic to think about, it's not her egg. I really would rather be her egg. I think that's a form of empathy that they're feeling for you. So I think that's really nice that both are thinking that way. Now, let me ask you, I know this may sound a little silly, but when you're going through this whole process, is there a better diet to have or something to do? Is there anything you can do to help the process along? I'm just curious about that. Definitely tell us.
There are certain things we can do. So, eating a healthy, well-balanced diet, staying away from caffeine, trying not to drink any alcohol, lots of antioxidants, so lots of vitamins is very helpful. Those things help quite a bit. Certainly not smoking, those types of things. You don't want to smoke or anything. Those things do help quite a bit. At the end of the day, though, it boils down to your age and, how many eggs you have and what quality they are. And, quality can be influenced to some degree by, the things that we do daily.
Right. Now, we all see in the news some of these older women that are way past the age level we've been told is like 35, 36. They're in their, I saw in their 60s, one lady, and I'm wondering, what do you think about that? And,
That's all doing right.
What happened?
No, that's all doing right. Yeah, it becomes progressively more and more difficult to use your own eggs as you advance in reproductive age. And I am grateful for the celebrities for showing that, you could be pregnant and have a baby at a very advanced reproductive age. And so it motivates and let women know that it is possible. But to some degree, it's not, they don't, women don't know everything in terms of it may not be those people's eggs. So as we advance in reproductive age, we're probably going to need donor eggs after a certain age. And a lot of that just boils down to our genetics and who we are.
I see. So that's how you're doing it. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering, you see it and you wonder, how did that happen? And what doctor said, yes, let's do this? So, you have these questions. So tell us a little bit about go ahead. Why don't you finish?
I said, occasionally you'll find, there's this window or spectrum, and 35 is like this magical age, and people say that's your advanced maternal age or advanced reproductive age. And occasionally you do get a 45-year-old, 47-year-old who gets pregnant with her eggs, but those are few and far in between. And occasionally you do get a 27-year-old that needs donor egg, and that's also few and far in between. Those are not very common. And so it's very rare to see that on different extremes of the age category. I'm sorry, Janice, you were saying something when I asked. Continue.
No, that's okay, because then I noticed we also have a question. So it just came through, and it says, do the couples go through counseling to help them cope with those times when it's not successful right away?
Absolutely.
That's a good question.
Counseling is very, very important. And so there are multiple online groups and multiple support groups that patients can join. Lots of places have support groups locally that patients can go to. They can schedule one-on-one visits with a counselor, therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. So counseling is very important during this process.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vita, for asking that question. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the process of having a surrogate? Because that's kind of a mystery. We see the celebrities do it, or we hear about it, we really don't see it. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's kind of mystifying. We don't know how that whole procedure works. Like, I know you have to meet them and you guys have to agree, but how does it work throughout? Do you get to actually go through the milestones of the pregnancy with the surrogate on a regular basis?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. So we only had one embryo, and we were very picky about who was going to carry the pregnancy, because we had one shot at this, and once that embryo was gone, it would take another 5 cycles if we're lucky to make another embryo. And so you would think me as a fertility doctor would know everything about surrogacy, just being a fertility doctor, but I didn't until I actually had to go through the process. So, you look at things at like their medical history. Have they delivered before? Have they carried a pregnancy before? Have they done surrogacy before? We ended up going through an agency, and the agency was helpful in terms of, they help in terms of vetting the person, and there were a third party in the process, which made it a whole lot easier. I know couples have used direct communication with surrogates, either online or through certain programs, but we ended up using an agency, which we felt was better for us. There is certainly an agency fee when you have to use an agency. And we interviewed several surrogates, and it has to be a good match. And we have to think about it that you and this person, you're going to be involved in something very intimate, like a pregnancy, and agreeing on, how the pregnancy should go and those types of things. So it has to be a very good match. And, there were some surrogates we felt that were not a right match for us. And then some surrogates felt that we were not the right intended parents whose baby they wanted to carry. So we were looking for someone who matched us in terms of our healthy lifestyle, who matched us in terms of, the way our views on pregnancy. And then once we found the right person, it was actually incredibly easy after that. I've been really lucky with my surrogate who, she and I had such a good relationship. We exchanged photos and pictures, and the calls were easy. But I never had to call her and say, what are you eating? Or, are you doing something good in terms of taking care of the pregnancy? I had done a decent job in choosing the person I felt was the right fit for me, that I only called her when it was time for her to go to her doctor's appointments, and I either physically showed up. She lived 5 hours from us, so either physically showed up, and if I couldn't physically show up, then I was speakerphone at the doctor's visit. But outside of that, I never felt like I needed to tell her what to do, and she certainly didn't feel like she had to update me every 2 seconds either. So we found she and I were a really good match for each other. And that's the key that you want to take away with finding a surrogate is you want to find someone that matches you in terms, and you have to think that you're meeting someone who is doing something kind for you, and you want to have a good relationship with them, but you don't want the relationship to be too personal either, because, there's certain boundaries you want to keep also. And so finding the right person is very important. And so once we found the right person, there's psychological clearance on their part and on our part to make sure everyone's comfortable with the process. There is legal paperwork that kind of delineates how everything should go from the very beginning. So all of that's written, and it's very easy after that.
Okay. Well, I have to ask this question because I know people are wondering, but I know utilizing a fertility facility is an expensive undertaking, right? It's especially with a surrogate. So, and of course, I hate to equate money with bringing a life into the world, but, for some people, that's a reality and they want to do this. But what can people expect to invest in this amazing process at the minimum? What do you think they need to be looking at as far as financing this?
It's interesting that you asked that question. More and more insurance companies are covering fertility. So several states in the country are mandated states and have some fertility coverage. So what I would encourage anyone to do is to contact their human resources department where they work and find out what their benefits are, contact their insurance directly. And then everyone's situation is very different. So some people may do better with very simple forms, less expensive forms of treatment. And then other people may need more expensive, more complicated forms of treatment. So everyone's very, very different. So I would start with, checking with your employment and then also with your insurance company.
I had no idea that insurance companies were backing fertility treatments now. That is fantastic to know. So if you guys hear that, go there first. Now, I do want to talk a little bit, because we're running out of time, about your book, Miracle Baby. I'm going to put it up here on screen. There you go. I'm going to split us in 3. Yeah. And let's see, we can do this so that you can see the book nicely. Let's see. Okay. Well, not, but there you go. And this is coming out October 8th. So can you tell us a little bit about the book? Like, who is it for? What should readers expect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this book is for anyone who wants to conceive, anyone who's looking to have a baby, parenthood, anyone who's looking for hope in this process. So there's 2 parallel stories in this book. The book was designed for prospective patients who wanted to learn more about fertility and read a story. And it's a story of hope. And I go through details about my struggles with infertility, and just like we spoke about, the roller coaster, those ups and downs of the whole process and how difficult the process is, with ultimately the final outcome a positive outcome. but it's a book about hope. The parallel story to the book is I give a lot of my own life story in that book, and why we needed surrogacy and what led to the whole process. How I was born in Guyana in South America and what led me to become a doctor. And it goes through a lot of my life story. And it's also a story of ups and downs and eventually hope. And the last chapter ends with the journey. And, there's really no true final destination. It's continue to enjoy the journey of this thing called life. So it's really for anyone, actually, mostly patients looking to get pregnant, but also anyone looking for a feel-good book that puts them in a good mood. I think it's beneficial for anyone who's looking for that type of information.
Well, congratulations on the book. Now, is this your son on the cover?
Yes, that's my son on the cover.
What a beautiful baby boy. How is he doing?
He's good. He's going to be 2 very soon. He's very good. And, I was lucky that he gave me some breaks in between feeds and diaper changes and everything else to allow me to jot down some notes and ultimately put it all together as a book. But yes, he's a wonderful kid.
So is motherhood everything you hoped it would be?
It is. It's wonderful. It's a huge sacrifice in terms of I don't go out as much. My husband and I don't do as many things as we used to, but the reward is so amazing. And every day, we were just talking about this a few days ago, every day just gets better and better and better. When he was small, just a little guy, we just fed and put to sleep all the time, and he'd wake up in the middle of the night. But now he's interactive and he asks questions and he has so much to say, and just every day gets so much more interesting. And so I absolutely enjoy it. Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Let me put the book up one more time for people. I want them to see. And just tell us where we can find the book. Is it on Amazon.com or is it on your website? Where can we find it?
Yeah, so Amazon.com is a great place to go get the book. It's also on my website, and my website is just DoretteNoorhasan.com. So either place works quite well.
Okay, so you guys heard that. You can pre-order it on Amazon, and it's available for pre-order now, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So if you have a friend or someone that's interested in fertility, this is one of the books that you can definitely get. She is definitely the expert to hear from. And just to close out the show, I know there's someone right now who probably is thinking about going through this or starting to go through this process. What kind of words of encouragement can you give that person?
The biggest thing I can say is have hope. It may take months, sometimes it may take years, but parenthood is very much a real possibility in the 21st century in the United States of America. It's really a real possibility.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on our show. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you, Janice.
And thank all of you for participating and listening to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the podcast talk show for parents. We hope to have Dr. Noorhasan back again when her next book comes out, The Fertility Manual, which launches in November. You are a busy woman. I don't know how you're doing this, but if you missed part of the show, no worries. You can always wait a few minutes and click play for the replay of this podcast. It's also available on every podcast platform it probably will be up live on the audio podcast in about a day or two, but you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Android, all the different podcast sites is indicated there. So share this with anyone who needs to hear it, and let's get the word out. Our next episode will be tomorrow, Saturday, the 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, still Pacific Daylight Time, and 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time if you're on the East Coast. And I will be interviewing Miss Muffy Mendoza of the Brown Mama Mindset. She wrote a book called The Brown Mama Mindset. basically on how to have a peace of mind as a mom, because we all need that. And you'll see the post on our Facebook page at Black Parenting One. So be sure to tag any friends in the post and be sure to hit get reminder. If you hit that button, Facebook will send you a reminder so that you don't forget to tune in. So again, you can ask questions live in the chat on our Facebook. If you're listening to the audio, I will just tell you what those questions are. And if you are watching the video, you will see them live on the screen. So please ask the questions. One more thing, don't forget to follow us too on Twitter and Facebook at Black Parenting One and on Instagram at Black Parenting Magazine. We need your support. Our website is successfulblackparenting.com, and it's full of good content to help you thrive and not just survive as a parent. So be sure to rate our podcast. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Kahari, and that is Swahili for goodbye. So see you. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine. You can help us to level up by supporting this podcast. All you have to do is go to anchor.fm and search for Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting, and then hit the button that actually says support this podcast. I want you to go there now. Go, 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 go. And thank you ahead of time.
Thanks for tuning in to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine. We'll see you soon.